Imagine a world teetering on the edge of the familiar, a place where the fabric of the everyday begins to unravel, revealing glimpses of the extraordinary lurking beneath. You're about to embark on a journey into the enigmatic, where the peculiar and the perplexing intertwine, where every tale twists the mind and tugs at the spirit. It's a descent into the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. This is When Reality Frays. New episodes are published every Monday and Thursday, and When Reality Frays is available everywhere fine podcasts are found. Before we move on, please hit that follow or subscribe button and turn on all reminders so you're alerted when new episodes are released. Today's episode contains two stories. First up is The Clearing, the story of something hiding in a primeval European forest that was better left alone. And the second story of the day is The Invisible Predator, the tale of a young school teacher in Vancouver, Canada that became the target of a relentless stalker. Now, let's get to the stories. A forgotten corner of a forest where ancient oaks stand sentinel over secrets older than time itself. Here, in a clearing, the trees do not merely sway, they speak, their voices curling through the air, beckoning the curious and the unwary. 5 hikers came here seeking adventure, only to find themselves marked by a force that does not forgive intrusion. Tonight, we invite you to step beyond the veil of reason into that place where reality frays. This is the story of The Clearing. On a crisp autumn day in 2002, 5 Polish hikers ventured into the Bielawieza Forest, a protected wilderness straddling Poland and Belarus. They were drawn by tales of a mysterious clearing where the trees speak. They ignored warnings from the locals and strayed from marked trails, seeking adventure in one of Europe's last remaining primeval forests. The deeper they went, the stranger the forest became. The air thickened, the usual chatter of wildlife faded, and an eerie stillness settled over the group. By noon, they stumbled upon a clearing unlike any other they'd encountered. Ringed by ancient oaks with twisted, gnarled branches, the grove felt unnaturally isolated. The tree's bark bore spiraling carvings, glyphs that resembled no known script, and had been created with a precision that belied their apparent age. The ground was bare, seemingly swept clean of debris, with subtle circular indentations pressed into the soil. It was as if something heavy had stood there centuries ago. Kasia, the group's bold leader, tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but her words faltered as a low, murmuring sound rose, like a chorus of voices whispering in an alien tongue. The sound surrounded them and seemed to emanate from the trees themselves. It wove itself through the air, soft at first before sharpening, as if responding to their presence. The group's equipment began to fail. Merrick's digital camera died without warning, though its battery had shown a full charge less than an hour earlier when he had taken a photo. Lena's compass spun wildly, unable to find north. Peter, usually reserved, looked about with wild eyes, claiming the voices were inside his head, calling him to approach the trees. Merrick switched to his backup camera, firing the shutter as fast as he could. His photos captured blurred shapes among the trees that were invisible to the naked eye. Everyone gathered tightly, leaning in for a look, but this camera's battery died too. A sudden gust tore through the clearing, though the surrounding forest remained still, and the voices spiked into a discordant wail that sent the group into a panic. Fleeing the grove, the hikers felt the voices trailing them, softer but persistent, like a predator tracking its prey. Peter lagged behind, his eyes distant, muttering something no one could understand. Kasia dragged him along, but he resisted, saying the forest needed him. Hours of disoriented wandering passed, then they stumbled across a marked trail. As they stepped onto it, the whispers ceased abruptly, replaced by the normal hum of the forest. Shaken, they hiked to a nearby village where an elderly innkeeper listened to their story before chastising them for having entered the clearing. She told them of a place tied to vanishing since the 1920s when loggers disappeared, leaving only a survivor who rambled about trees that judged the living. The aftermath haunted the group. Merrick's photos showed distorted trees and shadowy figures that could have been human. One of the figures was captured with a hand on Peter's shoulder. Anna's research uncovered references to a pre-Christian cult that worshipped in the forest and left carvings as offerings to spirits of the wood. Peter's decline was the most alarming. He grew obsessive, sketching the glyphs constantly before finally vanishing one night in 2003, leaving a cryptic note, "They're calling me." Search parties found tracks on 2 marked trails that were believed to have been left by Peter, but he was never found. Prompted by the group's claims of what sounded like paranormal activity, researchers from a university in Krakow, Poland investigated. They found no acoustic or electromagnetic anomalies, no explanation for what the hikers claimed they heard, or the wildly spinning compass needle. Soil samples did contain traces of an unidentified mineral, but funding for further study dried up. Sporadic reports of voices continued, always in autumn, often accompanied by compass failures. In 2015, a drone captured a fleeting image of a circular shadow in the grove's canopy, matching Anna's sketches of the ground indentations, but no structure was found. Locals spoke of the forest as alive, a sentient guardian of ancient secrets, while skeptics blamed infrasound or mass hysteria. The carvings still defy translation, and the grove remains a place of dread and fascination. In October of 2021, a new team ventured into the forest, driven by a mix of curiosity and ambition. The group, assembled by Dr. Elena Kowal, a Polish parapsychologist, aimed to document the grove's phenomena using cutting-edge technology. The team included Thomas Becker, a geophysicist with advanced sensors to detect electromagnetic or infrasonic activity; Sofia Mendes, a Brazilian photojournalist equipped with infrared and UV cameras; Jacob Liss, a former military tracker hired for navigation and safety; and finally, Mira Nowak, Kasia's niece. She was a linguistics student eager to decipher the carvings and uncover what drove her aunt's nightmares. The expedition began under a gray autumn sky, with the forest's dense canopy swallowing the team's GPS signals within minutes. Jacob, relying on old-school maps, noticed the forest paths seemed to shift subtly, as if guiding them. By late afternoon, they reached the clearing, now more overgrown, but unmistakably the same. The ancient oaks loomed large, their carvings still pristine. The ground remained unnaturally smooth, and Thomas's sensors detected a low-frequency hum, too subtle for human ears, but spiking erratically. As the team set up camp, the voices began. Soft at first, like a distant crowd, then sharper, forming syllables in a language Mira couldn't place despite her expertise. The team's radios crackled with static, and Sophia's infrared camera captured fleeting shapes darting between the trees, too fast to identify. Thomas's equipment registered a sudden magnetic spike, and his compass spun wildly, just as Lena's had in 2002. Elena, who had been recording audio since they reached the clearing, noticed the voices seemed to mimic the team's names, though distorted as if the forest was learning to speak to them. At dusk, the phenomena intensified. Jacob found fresh footprints in the soil, bare, human-sized, leading into the grove but not out. Mira, while sketching the carvings, felt a cold hand brush her neck, though no one was near her. Sophia's photos revealed a figure standing at the clearing's edge, its form humanoid but impossibly tall. When she tried to show the team, the image corrupted, leaving only static. One of Thomas's sensors briefly detected a heat signature beneath the ground, as if something massive was buried there. Elena, determined to push forward, suggested a nighttime vigil, but Peter's fate weighed on the team. Jacob urged vigilance, stating the forest felt wrong, but was unable to articulate what he was sensing. As if in response to his warning, the voices surged into a deafening chorus, and the trees swayed without wind. A shadow moved across the clearing, too large to be human. The team had had enough and decided to retreat from the clearing and come back the next day. Jacob led the way, the team moving at a fast jog. But the faint paths through the forest were playing tricks on them, and they wound up back in the clearing. Panic set in when they realized they couldn't find the path out. Jacob's maps were useless. Trails weren't where they were supposed to be. It was as if the geography had changed. Thomas's sensors overloaded and he grew agitated, shouting about something alive in the ground. Elena, who was still recording audio, whispered in a shaky voice, "The forest knows us. It's been waiting." A massive search was launched when the team failed to return. A week later, a ranger found their abandoned gear at the clearing's edge, as if it had been ejected. Elena's gear was among the equipment, along with multiple used tapes. Those recordings captured the team's trek through the forest and their rising panic upon reaching the clearing. And there was the sound of strong winds ripping through the forest, but no voices other than the team. Until an audio engineer hired by the National Police sped up the replay to 5 times normal, revealing that what they had thought was wind in the trees was actually a chorus of voices shouting in a language that couldn't be identified. After several weeks, the search for the missing team was abandoned and the case was shunted off to the cold files. To this day, no other signs of the team have ever been found. A clearing deep in the heart of a primeval forest where the trees speak in tongues unknown and the ground holds secrets older than time itself. What is it about this place, this grove of murmurs that calls to the curious and claims the unwary? Is it a guardian of ancient rites, or perhaps a sentient force that judges those who trespass? The forest offers no answers, only a lesson for those who seek the mysteries of the world. Some places, once entered, never let you leave. If you're enjoying the stories, please consider supporting the research and production that go into bringing them to you by buying me a coffee. The link is in the episode show notes, and I would greatly appreciate your support. Now, on to today's second story, which is The Invisible Predator. In the glow of Vancouver's digital dawn, a teacher's life was upended by a phantom who struck from the shadows of the internet. For 3 years, Lisa Legacy endured a relentless siege of lies, threats, and manipulation, her world reduced to a prison of fear. Who was this cyberstalker, and what drove their cruel obsession? This is the story of the Invisible Predator. In the spring of 2009, Vancouver, Canada was a city on the cusp of transformation. Its skyline of glass towers shimmered against the Pacific, cherry blossoms lined Kitsilano's streets, and the hum of early social media connected a community still learning the internet's reach. Amid this blend of coastal charm and digital promise, Lisa Legacy, a 38-year-old high school teacher, thrived. Her classroom in East Vancouver was a sanctuary where she taught English and history with a passion that turned reluctant students into eager learners. Outside school, she nurtured a small balcony garden, jogged along the seawall's curving paths, and savored quiet nights with a novel or a glass of wine. To those around her, Lisa was a pillar, steady, compassionate, her life a tapestry of routine and purpose woven in a city she loved. But in April 2009, a darkness slipped into her world, silent as a virus. An anonymous cyberstalker, hidden behind screens and servers, launched a campaign of psychological torture that would dismantle Lisa's reality. This unseen predator infiltrated her life, exploiting the internet's anonymity to sow paranoia, shame, and isolation. The harassment struck with surgical precision, targeting her career, her relationships, and her sense of self, leaving her to question who she could trust. The ordeal began on a drizzly April evening when an email landed in Lisa's inbox. Its subject line, a blunt accusation, unfit to teach. The message, sent from a throwaway account, berated her for neglecting her students, citing specific lessons and classroom moments with unsettling accuracy. The tone was venomous, laced with a personal malice that felt like violation. Lisa, accustomed to the occasional parent complaint, tried to shrug it off, but unease took root as more emails arrived, each one sharper, more invasive. By May, the messages referenced her daily habits, her morning latte at a local cafe, the novels she carried, the blue scarf she wore on chilly days, as if the cinder was shadowing her every step. Threats crept in, vague but chilling. You're not as safe as you think, and your secrets will come out. Words that burrowed into her mind, eroding her sense of security. The stalker's campaign soon spread beyond email. Fake profiles emerged on early social media platforms using Lisa's name and stolen photos from her public faculty page. These accounts posted humiliating fabrications, claims of romantic scandals, professional failures, even fabricated confessions of cheating on exams she'd never taken. One profile, posing as Lisa on a teacher networking site, sent inappropriate messages to colleagues, flooding her work email with replies that ranged from confused to incensed. The lies seeped into her professional world, planting doubt among coworkers. Staff room conversations grew strained, eyes lingered a beat too long, and Lisa felt her reputation, hard-earned over a decade, slipping through her fingers like sand. The stalker's messages taunted her, accusing her of hiding who you really are, a gaslighting mantra that made her question her own actions. In the fall of 2009, the harassment escalated, turning Lisa's career into a battleground. The stalker began submitting fake job applications in her name, targeting schools across British Columbia, Alberta, and even Ontario. The resumes were grotesque parodies, listing absurd qualifications like expert in chaos management, or fabricated criminal records, drug charges, fraud offenses she had never committed. Rejection letters arrived, some polite, others scathing, as principals called to question why she'd applied for roles thousands of miles away. One application included a doctored photo of Lisa, her face digitally altered to appear gaunt, her eyes hollow, a cruel mockery of her identity. The violation was profound. She felt her life being rewritten, her agency stolen by a phantom who seemed to know her better than she knew herself. The psychological toll was merciless. Lisa's once vibrant spirit dimmed, replaced by a hypervigilance that colored every moment. She stopped jogging along the seawall, haunted by the stalker's references to her running routes, and abandoned her garden, its flowers wilting as she spent hours locking down her online presence. Passwords were changed weekly, social media accounts deleted, yet the attacks persisted as if the stalker had burrowed into her digital shadow. Sleep eluded her, replaced by nights spent staring at her laptop, searching for the source of the torment. Her apartment's bolted doors no match for the fear that seeped through the screen. At school, her lessons faltered, her usual warmth replaced by distraction, prompting concerned glances from students and complaints from parents unaware of her invisible war. Vancouver police entered the case in January 2010 when Lisa reported a particularly menacing email threatening to end her career for good. Detectives navigating the nascent field of cybercrime faced a foe who thrived in anonymity. The stalker routed emails through disposable services like guerrilla mail, bouncing signals across proxy servers in Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia, untouchable by Canadian warrants. Fake profiles were created on platforms with lax oversight, deleted within hours, leaving no digital breadcrumbs. Investigators scoured Lisa's school for suspects: a disgruntled student, a resentful colleague, a parent with a grudge, but the net was too wide. The school's IT system, audited for hacks, showed no breaches, yet the stalker's intimate knowledge suggested access to her life that defied logic. A profiler hypothesized a tech-savvy individual, likely 20 to 40, driven by personal resentment. But the suspect pool, hundreds of students, dozens of coworkers, and countless acquaintances, was overwhelming. In 2010, the stalker's cruelty deepened, targeting Lisa's social fabric. Fake emails, forged to look like hers, were sent to friends, confessing to betrayals or begging for money, straining bonds she'd built over years. One message sent to her best friend claimed Lisa was leaving Vancouver in shame, prompting a painful confrontation that left her isolated. The stalker's taunts grew more psychological, accusing her of deserving the torment for unnamed sins and planting seeds of self-doubt that took root. She began to second-guess her interactions, wondering if a casual remark to a student or a disagreement with a colleague had sparked this vendetta. Her apartment, once a sanctuary, felt like a cage, its windows darkened to block prying eyes she could never prove were there. The harassment reached a peak in 2011 with the creation of a defamatory blog exposing Lisa, hosted on an offshore server beyond police reach. The site accused her of falsifying her teaching credentials, endangering students, and living a double life, complete with fabricated screenshots of emails she'd never written. Anonymous tips sent the blog's link to the Vancouver School Board, triggering a formal review that, while clearing Lisa, left her humiliated, her professionalism questioned in whispers. The stalker's messages referenced private moments, her therapy appointments, her late-night grocery runs, as if they had infiltrated her innermost spaces. The violation was suffocating, a constant reminder that her life was no longer her own. Police intensified their efforts, partnering with the RCMP's cybercrime unit in Ottawa. A breakthrough seemed possible when one email was traced to a public Wi-Fi network at a Granville Street coffee shop in July of 2011. Surveillance footage captured a crowd of patrons, students, professionals, and tourists, but none stood out as a clear suspect, and the account was deleted hours later. Detectives set up stings at other Wi-Fi hotspots, hoping to catch the stalker in the act, but the attack shifted to new platforms, the perpetrator always a step ahead. Behavioral analysis suggested a meticulous planner with IT experience who relished the power of anonymity, but no one in Lisa's orbit matched the profile. A former student with a history of hacking was questioned, but his alibi held. A colleague who had clashed with Lisa over curriculum lacked the technical savvy. The trail grew colder with each dead end. By 2012, Lisa's life was in tatters. She took a leave of absence from teaching, unable to face the classroom's scrutiny, and moved to a new apartment in Burnaby, hoping a fresh start would break the stalker's hold. Her health suffered. Insomnia, anxiety attacks, and a diagnosis of PTSD marked the toll of 3 years under siege. The harassment surged in the spring, with a flurry of emails threatening to destroy her forever, each one a fresh assault on her psyche. Then, in June 2012, the attack stopped. No final taunt, no parting shot, just an eerie silence. The blog vanished, its server wiped. The profiles disappeared, their traces scrubbed. The emails ceased, as if the stalker had flipped a switch and walked away. Police monitored for months, expecting a return, but the digital void offered no answers, the perpetrator a phantom who had melted into the internet's depths. The aftermath reshaped Lisa's world. She returned to teaching in 2013, but the classroom felt different, her confidence a fragile thing. She avoided social media, her online presence reduced to a locked email account, and shunned public events, wary of unseen eyes. Therapy became a lifeline, helping her navigate the PTSD that lingered like a low hum, her trust in others fractured by the memory of betrayal. The Vancouver School Board tightened its cybersecurity, training staff on digital threats, and police refined their cyberstalking protocols, but the case remained a cautionary tale, a reminder of the internet's power to wound without a trace. In East Vancouver, colleagues spoke of Lisa's ordeal in hushed tones, a shared wound in a community that prided itself on connection. Who was the cyberstalker of Lisa Legacy? The mystery endures, a glitch in Vancouver's digital fabric. One theory points to a student, perhaps nursing a grudge over a failed grade or a classroom rebuke, their youth cloaking a sophisticated cruelty honed in online forums. Another suggests a colleague, envious of Lisa's rapport with students, or passed over for promotion and using borrowed skills to exact revenge. A darker possibility imagines a stranger, drawn to Lisa's public profile on the school's website, testing their prowess in a twisted game before moving on to new prey. The stalker's knowledge, her therapy, her routines, suggest proximity, a ghost in her daily life, yet their use of VPNs and proxies points to a calculated distance, a paradox that defies resolution. The Granville Street coffee shop, the sole tangible clue, is a dead end, its patrons nothing but a blur of faces lost to time. Vancouver has evolved, its tech scene a global hub, its streets alive with new stories. But for Lisa Legacy, the past is a shadow that flickers in the glow of every screen. Her garden blooms again, a quiet rebellion against the darkness, but the internet remains a place of caution, its vastness a reminder of the enemy she never saw. In the city's endless scroll, the stalker lingers, a faceless tormentor who rewrote a woman's life, then vanished, leaving only silence and a question that echoes through the ether. The stories presented are inspired by true events. Names may have been changed for privacy reasons. New episodes are uploaded every Monday and Thursday. If you're enjoying the journey into the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained, be sure to press that follow or subscribe button and turn on all reminders so you're alerted whenever an episode drops. Until next time, thank you for listening to When Reality Frays.